Hello. Welcome to my guide for Release Party Revenge 2.21x difficulty hard mode grind for Doomspire defense. This video will guide you on what you need to know and the basics for this mode. First off, what's so special about this mode? Unlike your standard Moonbase hard mode grind, Release Party Revenge is a map well known for its chaos with its 3 lanes. More enemies means more ticks, allowing you to set up your defenses quickly before the final boss. This essentially makes it one of the most enjoyable grinding methods, but it requires planning. So, for starters, what do I need to know? Well, firstly, in order to have a balanced economy and tower limit, I heavily recommend a group of 5 to 6 players. Keep in mind that it is possible to complete this in both more or lesser players, but this is for optimization. Moving forward, what modifiers do we use? Typically, the modifiers used are True Bloxer, Doombringer's Blessing, Deathmatch, and Haunted. Pretty simple, right? Moving forward, what towers do we need to use? Thankfully, Release Party Revenge welcomes most types of towers with a mix of early game and late game. Starting with our early game towers, these are the most important as you simply cannot progress the game without their defense. Let's talk about Bomber and Moderator. Most people overlook Bomber as he has no use in late game, though he is very recommended for his area damage early on. With a Moderator placed alongside Bombers, they can make a pretty good defense team early. If you as a player are using Bomber, I also recommend setting their targets to last to cover more area. As for Moderator, be sure to upgrade him so that he can target cloaked enemies too. Next up is Spawner. I recommend any summoning tower, just in case any enemies leaks past the early defense, but Spawner is the cheapest and works well. Following up is also the most important of our early game and late game support towers, which are Survivalist and Shielder. With the Deathmatch modifier active, Survivalist is absolutely needed for keeping your towers alive. Place him at your economy towers and alongside defenders to heal them. Take note that his base healing rate is very weak, so set aside some ticks to unlock his healing ability, which instantly heals all towers. If you're not sure what to bring for your 6th tower slot, I recommend choosing him. Finally is Shielder. Much like Survivalist, also keeps your towers alive, but also prevents them from being stunned or killed, especially in late game. He is important in early game, and due to the Haunted modifier, which stuns your towers. Now that we have covered your early defenders, let's move on to mid-game. The good news is that it will be easier from this point forward. However, players need to take note of the following enemies. By wave 13, jetpacks, super battlers and rakes will enter the map. If you're not prepared, they can easily break past your defenses. These can be easily countered by preparing hyperlasers early, so for players using those, remember to set up a few of them and upgrade them to level 2 then 3 before these tougher enemies arrive. For those who are using heavy gunners only, be sure to place and upgrade them to help your hyperlaser brothers. Additionally, if you have a general, place him down and upgrade him to take the pressure off enemies. If you have gotten through this part and have defeated the mad scientist, now is the best time to focus on your economy. Be sure to upgrade them in order to set up your late game defense. Speaking of economy, here are the basics on economy towers. Mr. Ticks is pretty straightforward as he gives the best rate of investment. If a player has a Tycoon, place your Mr. Ticks next to it for a bonus. Tycoon is a really good economy tower as it grants the most money, but it requires a heavy investment, and for that I recommend bringing Corsair alongside. You can also place your Corsairs next to the Tycoon to get a bonus. Now that we have covered what you need to know, it's time to cover the easiest part of the grind, late game. Generally, if you have your damage and support towers, be sure to have them out by now. Some of the best damage towers are Heavy Gunner, Galactic Gunner, Hyperlaser, Machinery, Teamers and Terminal Garage. If you are using support towers, be sure to place and use them accordingly. An example would be the Rockstar's Screech. Not only does it stun and damage enemies, her last mastery upgrade causes enemies to take more damage, making usage of this tower a game changer. As long as you have played all your cards correctly, you won't have any issue against the bosses. We have now come to the end of the guide. If you have any tips or questions, ask them in the comment section. Have fun,